Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the ATI Podcast. We're going to be episode 11.1 here. We're doing a follow-up with the Record Space, Don, owner of the Record Space, today. How are you doing, Don?
Good. How you doing, man?
Doing wonderful. Thank you for taking the time to follow up with us. And we've also got something else very special to talk about today, and that's going to be the punk rock flea market that's going to be taking place on May 27th at Kinnear Plaza in St. Louis. But before we do that, we wanted to do a little bit of a follow-up on our visit to the Record Space, and just wanted to echo the fun that me and the boys had, myself and the Waxing On fellas that we have on our podcast network as well. Really enjoyed the selection that you guys had there at the Record Space. And every time we turned around, we were finding something new that we had to show the other one, or whatever the case was. And we even went back for a second transaction, each one of us. So.
As I say to most people that come in here, if I've done my job, that's how it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming out. It sucks that that storm happened. That was wild. Everything just seemed to keep going wrong that night. I was like, what are the odds? But I'm glad you all got home safe. And we're here to do this today. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, how long has the Record Space been open, Don?
It has been open 4.25, I guess, year, 4.5 almost. We turned 5 on December 15th.
Very cool. Very cool. And obviously, I say obviously, maybe our audience doesn't know, but you're also in a band as well. Is that correct?
We're in
Bastard Squad.
I'm the singer of Bastard Squad.
And so some folks in the St. Louis area might be familiar with you and your band as far as that's concerned as well. But that's not a connection that I made until visiting your shop, and the nice lady that was working that day informed us of.
Yeah.
So that's another nice little wrinkle to everything. It's nice to see somebody that is not only a musician, but also actually has a record store themselves.
Yep. And I run the record label out of here too, which was started to put out my records. And then I just started putting out other local bands' records, and eventually got to doing some reissues of classic punk records too.
Very cool. And what's the name of the record label?
That's the name of the record label. It's the Record Label.
Oh, okay.
So
Very
good. The shop's
good.
called the Record Space. The label's called the Record Label.
Can't get any simpler than that. Nice and easy to remember.
Yep.
Absolutely. So how long has Bastard Squad been cutting their teeth in the game?
So we're going to have our 5th anniversary party coming up here. We'll announce that soon, but it's going to be on July 1st. So that'll be 5 years since we reunited. And then it was 21 years before that that we last were a band. So 97 was when we formed and ended in the same 7-month period.
Wow. What was the reason that you all got back together? Is just you guys were itching to play together again, or how did that come together?
Oddly enough, it was to just for a reunion thing for Punk Rock Flea Market, the first one.
Oh, okay.
I was doing the first Punk Rock Flea Market was done at San Lou with John Carell. He's the owner, but he was also the bass player in Bastard Squad back in the day. So I kind of suggested, hey, maybe we should do like a little reunion thing just for fun. And then by the time that show ended, we were asked to do another show within like a couple weeks or whatever. Like that day, we were asked to play another show. So we were like, I guess we'll do another one, And then we started playing, practicing and writing new songs. And then it just kind of organically just came back together again, And then, a year after that, we're releasing our first record,
That's awesome. Very cool. When can everybody expect that record to hit the shelves?
So the first record came out in December of 2019. Second
Okay.
record came out in April of 2021, and then we just dropped Hideaway in 2022, which is an EP, and then we're working on the follow up to our first album, a full length follow up right now, which we're hoping to have out by next summer.
Very cool. Now, for folks who haven't heard Bastard Squad yet, would you classify yourself in the punk rock genre?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's hardcore punk. Um,
Yeah.
we've been called a couple print things have called us Midwest metal tinged hardcore, which we always laugh at. But yeah, we feel like it's just classic hardcore punk, with our
Sure.
spin on it,
Sure.
I suppose.
Yeah. The best there is, in
Right.
my opinion. Can't go wrong
Yeah.
with that. And so it sounds like a lot of the stars aligned for you about 4 to 5 years ago. The band getting back together, doing that reunion show, having the record space, the record store that you
Hmm.
own there as well as the
Right.
event that's coming up here, and that's the Punk Rock
Right.
Flea Market. How did that get started?
So actually, Punk Rock Flea Market goes back before the record space, before I opened a physical location. But I had seen for years every other place has these punk rock flea markets. Trenton, New Jersey, L.A., Austin,
Mm-hmm.
Chicago. They all have these big punk rock flea market things. And then there's smaller cities that do it too. And I was just like, well, as usual, St. Louis isn't doing this. I don't know why this isn't a thing here. It just
Sure.
seems like we've got a big enough, you know, music scene and market for all this. Like as far as like
Right.
vendors and stuff goes, and vendors of the strange or whatever you want to call it, or the fringe. But like, yeah, that was kind of it. I was just, it's always you got to travel somewhere to do shit, instead of
Sure.
St. Louis just having the shit, So I
Right.
had been working some record events, selling records at record shows and shit, and I had this, uh, what was it, a booth in this antique mall called the Record Space because it was a small space occupying this. It was its own room inside of this pre-existing business, so I called it the Record Space. And
Right.
from there, we basically, I started working on those record shows, and then I kind of started being like, well, I could do my own record show, and then it was like, maybe this punk rock flea market thing could be a thing. So I was talking to a few people, about that, trying to get it off the ground. It took me probably, I think, about 3 years before it happened. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was 2015 was the first time I had a conversation about it uh, with a close friend, and you know, when it kind of all coincided with my kids kind of moving out, and like things just freeing up for me and having a little bit more time on my hands. So I was like,
Sure.
well, I guess I'll start working on my own event, which was going to originally was just going to be a record show, but it turned into punk rock flea market because I kind of just merged everything together into one thing and was just like, well, I can
Sure.
do the record show and punk rock flea market idea at the same time. So I went to San Luis and asked John if he wanted to do it there. And so the first year we did it out of San Luis, the bar on Cherokee, and
Yeah.
we had bands play on the stage. We had bands play out back. We had a bunch of vendors in and out, and we just did it, said go for it, fuck it, So that was
Yeah.
1990, June of 98, or sorry, of 2018. Sorry, going
Okay.
way too far back,
Okay.
but yeah, 2018, June
Yeah.
of 2018. So that was the first one.
Very cool. And obviously, the first one was a success and led you to do others,
Yeah,
right?
so I mean, we had a pretty good turnout, and it was a little cramped, because it's a smaller bar and stuff,
Sure.
and we were just using the back patio
Yeah.
and a little bit of the inside. So I wanted to do it a little bit bigger. So for the second year, I did it at Silver Ballroom, the parking lot across the street behind Bevo Mill,
Okay.
because I wanted more space. So I wanted to
Right.
expand it a little bit, and we did double the numbers that we did the first year, and so
Wow.
I was like, cool. And so that would have been 2019, uh, and then 2020, I was working on Punk Rock Flea Market 3, uh, which was going to be in the Grove, where they do RFT Fest, kind of wedged
Yeah.
between uh, what was Atomic Cowboy and Firecracker Pizza.
Yes.
And I was working with them, and we were supposed to launch it in a bigger way. It was going to have touring bands and all this stuff, and we were working on it.
Hmm.
I was having meetings about money, and everything was going along, and then COVID happened right after I had
Right.
like the money talk, and then it was just like,
Oh my God.
a big sponsor was going to come on board. Everything was going to be, just ramped up a lot. We were going to do it in the Grove and shit, and yeah, then it just everything got cut off, and I was like, fuck. That was a lot of work
Wow.
for a nothing, and then of course I had to close my shop for the mandatory shutdown stuff, and
Right.
everything just kind of got the wind taken out of your sails at that point for everybody,
Sure. Sure.
and but we just held our held held off, and took care of each other and waited until the right time,
Yeah.
and you know yeah, and then yeah, that's when we came back in 2021.
I'm kind of curious from the business perspective as well. How do you feel that you have bounced back from, COVID and the mandatory shutdowns and that sort of thing? You feel like you're kind of in a good place. You're back to where you were beforehand, maybe in a better place.
I think it's hard to say,
Yeah.
the it's retail is it's weird now. It's not a
Sure.
sure shot thing anymore. There's not like, oh yeah, Saturdays are
Sure.
always awesome and you're packed, or whatever. It's just kind of everything's all over the place
Right.
these days. So it's just, I'm not saying it's better or worse. It's just different. So I'm
Yeah.
just trying
Sure.
to keep my
Certainly.
head down and keep doing what I do. And
Yeah.
working on releases with the label, working on the records with the band, and running the shop.
Yeah.
Trying my best.
That's that's all you can do is just keep
Yeah.
grinding. Uh, So let's talk about this year's event with the punk rock flea market. I know that the primary hosts are the Record Space, Terra Tacos, and then is it Glamgoria as well as
Yeah,
on board with
Glamgoria,
you guys?
and Forehand's Brewing.
Okay,
So
very good, very
we
good.
actually, sorry, earlier I said 2021. We actually came back in 2022. That was last year. We did
Yeah.
the next one. We was bigger than the Silver Ballroom parking lot. We moved to Forehands, and did it in the parking lot across
Okay.
from Forehands, and they became our, they've been a sponsor for a lot of Bastard Squad, Record Space, and my events and Punk Rock Flea Market for a little bit. And so I was kind of like, well, why don't we just do it on your turf? So
Sure.
that's how that happened. So then, it carried over to this year. Glam Gloria, Heather helped me with, setting up vendors and everything with last year. So, I asked her to partner up with me and do it this year again. And then we brought on Brian
Hmm.
from Terra Taco to run the food, uh, because he's in the industry. So I kind of figured, having
Sure.
somebody from within, kind of pulling from
Right.
friends and acquaintances and stuff is going to be a lot easier than me trying to hunt everybody down. So he's
Right.
working on that, and we got some pretty cool food vendors lined up. The vendors that Heather has, there's just tons of cool stuff. Some of it's listed now in the event page on Facebook,
Hmm.
so you can get a little teaser of what we got going on. And then I
Right.
facilitated all the bands and stuff, and like procured where we're going to do it, and getting kind of
Yeah.
everything set up. But
So this year it's going to be at Kinnear
yeah,
Plaza. And it looks like, at least from the event that I've seen, there's a lot of interest in the event already. Well over 3,000 people have marked
right,
interested in the event on Facebook
right,
alone. Hopefully, I hope that translates into actual folks showing up. But as you mentioned already, we know that there's a lot going on here. You've got quite a few bands
yeah.
performing, as well as the food vendors that are set up. Outside of yourself, as far as from the retail piece, what other kind of retailers can people expect at the event too?
Well, Longoria will have a really rad setup, and she always, makes a lot of uh, special horror, you know, lines, goods. And I can't wait to see what she brings, because I know it's going to be something altogether new and interesting for the event. And she's even done things for me before where she'll make like a record bath bombs and stuff like that. So who knows what we'll
That's very
collab
cool.
on, or what will happen. But yeah, I look forward to what she's going to have. And there's a really cool vendor coming from Nashville that kind of sets up at the record shows and stuff, and kind of does like flea markets in other cities called Motor Soul Vintage, and they sell like cool
Hmm.
punk records and shit, and just like yeah, that's the one that I'm really looking forward to. He every time I see him at the record show, I'm always buying something rad out of his boxes, you know. Um,
Very
so
cool.
yeah, that's. But there's a plethora of vendors that are coming back from last year that we loved to new people coming on board this year. And that's the number one thing you got to do is walk around to all the booths and just see what
Yeah,
everybody's got to offer and just dig in, because that's the idea,
absolutely.
to just bring together all the kind of fringe uh, dealers, and vendors from all these other
Right,
events,
right.
that kind of have the same sensibilities and stuff that we do, the DIY ethos and shit like that.
Absolutely. And one thing I didn't mean to gloss over earlier is the fact that Four Hands, they're very involved in St. Louis and other St. Louis businesses and just really about promoting, St. Louis area events and that sort of stuff. I'm glad to hear that they're a partner of this. It doesn't surprise me knowing the nature of them and what they do for the community of St. Louis. So it's very cool that they're on board as well with you guys. And hey, it helps too. It's delicious
Yeah, yeah,
beer. You
yeah.
can't beat
And
that.
we and it was they ended up making a deal with Keener Plaza during the games to have like this booth in the park, Keener Plaza. So throughout the next summer or whatever, they're gonna have like I think it's Thursdays through Sundays, they're gonna have this little booth set up whenever there's games in town. So people downtown can kind of hang out and drink at the park and stuff. And so when I met with them about this year, and I was just planning on doing
Yeah,
it possibly on their grounds again, they pretty much were like, "Hey, we're working with Keener on this stuff. Maybe reach out to them and see about getting that going." So
yeah,
I had to jump through a lot of hoops for it, and we had to do a lot of work, but and it took a little longer than we anticipated. So we started signups a lot later than we wanted to, but we were trying to
sure.
make sure that we got the best spot for Punk Rock Flea Market, and I felt like Keener Plaza being in the heart of downtown St. Louis. With the arch in the background, I mean, there's nothing more I could ask for when
Yeah,
you're putting on something called St. Louis Punk Rock Flea Market. You want it to
absolutely.
be in a place like Keener, which is something that I grew up going to as a kid, like outdoor
Right.
concerts and playing in the fountain and all the shit like
Yes.
that. So it
Yes.
was a little bit overwhelming when I actually got the fucking the permit. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't believe they gave us the keys to the city, essentially. you know, Punk Rock
Yeah.
Flea Market gets to
Absolutely.
fucking take over a whole entire city park, as it were.
Yeah. Yeah. Kinnear is iconic for anybody that's a native St. Louisan, been around for a while. I was originally born. I was originally born in St. Louis. I got a lot of family up there. We're south of St. Louis a little bit now, about 65 miles in a city called Farmington, Missouri. But not that long of a drive for us, and I like to take my kids up there and get to experience some things I got to experience in my youth up there, and so on. So that's going to add a little bit to the nostalgia factor for myself and my
Mhm.
crew when we come up to the punk rock flea market as well. So really looking forward to the
Yeah.
event. Now the event on Saturday, May 27th, it starts at 11 a.m. and until 8 p.m. and all ages are welcome,
Yep,
right,
yep.
Don?
Everybody is welcome. I consider, most of or all the events that we do a safe space for everyone, from children to, uh, you know, grandparents, whoever, and everybody in
Yeah,
between. Like we're here to just, hang with everybody who's interested, kind of like the, if you build it, they will come kind of thing. You know what I mean?
yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, my grandma comes out and
Exactly.
does a little
I hope
slam
so too.
dancing.
Yeah. She'll probably like,
It'd be really
go
weird.
ahead.
I was just gonna say it'd be a little weird because she's dead, though.
Well,
So
I
there's
mean,
that.
back from the grave, I suppose. I mean, my
Yeah,
story is partially horror, and we do have a lot of
there you
horror
go.
imagery on a lot of the stuff that I do.
Yes, yes, absolutely, and some great classic horror stuff inside your shop there too, for
Yeah,
sure as
I
well.
try.
So, folks, we can't encourage you enough to come out to Kinnear Plaza on May 27th to the event here. It's the Punk Rock Flea Market. There's all kinds of opportunities taking place. here at the Punk Rock Flea Market. Something for everybody. I don't know that we could say that enough without question. And the fact that just your presence there alone is supporting local vendors, local businesses. Yes, there's some out of town folks, as Don has detailed
Yeah.
here, but going to be a lot of new and exciting things for people to experience there. One question I got for you, Don, concerning the music piece of the
Hmm.
event. How's that going to be handled? Are there one stage, two stages?
Yeah.
Is music continuous throughout
There's
the
going to be
day?
one stage in the middle of the park, not in the
Okay,
middle, but in the middle, if it makes sense, off to one side. So it'll face
sure.
into the park. Yeah, one stage primarily going to have everything. We're going to have 11 bands. I've got the entire thing booked, but you'll have to wait for those teasers to come out. I can tell you that for sure Bastard Squad is playing, of course, because
Yeah,
we did year
absolutely.
one. We've actually played in some capacity all of them. Um, Last year we couldn't play the main event, so we played the after party. The year before that, we play or the 2019 one we played uh, in Silver Ballroom's parking lot, and we played at the after party at the Haunt. And one of our members actually passed out and never didn't
Oh my
even show
God.
up. And that was a little
uh,
daunting. I'm never doing that again. But we
yeah.
are going to be playing, even though I'm got to work this entire event, and I'll have my booth down there too. And there's a lot of work to do. I'm still going to have to take time to play a set. So
Sure,
that's the
sure.
only band that I can reveal right now. But yeah,
Well, we can definitely say that there's more details forthcoming. If you guys want to look at the details and stay up to date with the details, check out the Facebook event for the Punk Rock Flea Market. It is listed as St. Louis Punk Rock Flea Market 4 in Roman numerals at Kinnear Plaza. Can't
yep.
miss it. Should be the only
And
one. And a very cool flyer for it as
yeah,
well.
and if you go to Instagram, you can find our page, which is STL underscore punk underscore flea underscore market. And I put all the posts in there too. So you can kind of follow the Instagram and the event page. Either one works, or both.
Absolutely, absolutely. Uh, Don, are you going to have some stuff from the record space set up there too, as well at
Yeah,
the event? Maybe some crates of records for people to pick through and make some
yeah, we'll
purchases?
have some cool records out. Might have a couple exclusive releases ready from the record label at that point that I'm working on right now.
Cool.
Um, and so we'll have some stuff out there. We'll also have shirts for the event and stuff like that we'll be doing. So yeah, there'll be a pretty big record space booth down there, kind of record space slash record label slash punk rock flea market booth.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it sounds like you guys are going to have plenty to do without question for the 9 hours that you're going to be there at Kinnear Plaza with the various vendors. There's going to be music, there's going to be shopping, there's going to be boutiques, there's going to be obscure items, there's going to be good handmade goods. There's going to be plenty of St. Louis businesses and proprietors there. So we can't encourage folks enough to come out, and it's family friendly. That's always a big, contingency. I know, at least in my world. I've got a lot of small children, and things are family friendly. It makes it a little bit easier to come out to events like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, we try to just encourage everybody. Even with the Bastard Squad shows, maybe some of the stuff that we say, you might cover your kids' ears, but we try to do all
Sure.
ages shows. When we were all kids, we wanted to go to punk shows and shit. So we're trying to
Right.
make sure that our shows are all ages and from now on. So yeah, that's what we've been doing the shows at Off Broadway, which, so I've been working with them a little bit too. And, you know,
Yeah. Off Broadway is a very cool venue too. That's one that's changed over the
yeah,
years
yeah, they've
quite a bit.
changed a lot, and they've opened their doors to more expansion of music. You know what I mean? To include the
Definitely.
punk metal hardcore crowd.
Yes.
So they've started to let people in with that, which is really cool.
Yeah, I know in my early college days in like the mid 2000s, it was pretty much almost exclusively like indie shows and like indie bands and
Americana.
oh yeah, like kind of Americana stuff, little rhythm and blues occasionally, that
Yep.
sort of thing. And then I know that I've seen. I was at the Fall of Troy 20th anniversary
Nice.
show there. Off is getting ready to
Yep.
play there, I believe, here in the next few
Yeah, and
weeks
we're
as
bringing
well.
Fear through.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah,
Very
Fear
cool.
from LA, the old school punk band from
Yeah.
the '80s. We're
Yeah.
bringing those dudes through, and
Awesome.
we're
Very
of
awesome.
course we're gonna play too. That's gonna be a good time.
Hell yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So, folks, once again, May 27th, 11 to 8, there at Kinnear Plaza in St. Louis. Let's come out. Let's show our support, and let's listen to some good tunes. Maybe find a obscure record or two and some handmade goods. Sounds like a
Yeah,
plan. Don't you think,
yeah. I
Don?
hope to see everybody there. It's gonna be a great time, and also it'll just be a nice holiday weekend in the heart of downtown at Keener Plaza. Can't think of a cooler place to put this at. It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely. Well, best of
Yeah,
luck to you in the event, Don, and hopefully the weather's in your favor
yeah,
as well. May is always usually a pretty decent time to have something outside, and St. Louis right there in front of the arch can't get more picturesque for
yeah.
the
We
event
tried
too.
to move it closer to the spring because last year we did it in the first week of June and it was fucking hot, and
Yeah,
it tends to be we've done it in the end of June, and it's fucking hot. It's just you can't that heat
sure.
in with the concrete. It just is pretty gnarly.
Yep.
So at least this place has a lot of grass, and so we're hoping.
Yeah,
But yeah, we're hoping that by moving it into May, we'll get a little bit away from that and maybe a little bit more of that spring weather versus the crazy hot St. Louis sun.
sure. Absolutely. Now, folks, I did tag the event in the post I put up tonight teasing our discussion. We'll be sure to post up links to the event as well and make sure that everybody has their opportunity to be well informed of the event. And I'll see you
Yeah,
there. Don will
and
see you there,
yeah,
right?
and I hope you guys are going to come out and do a little bit of video vlogging or some video
Yeah,
pod stuff on grounds. That'll be radical.
absolutely.
So that's something I look forward to as well. We've tried to do that before. I
Yeah,
wanted to have, I think it was 2019. We had a guy come out that videoed a bunch of stuff and kind of made like a little clip thing on YouTube. It wasn't really
yeah.
what I was thinking, but there were a few interviews and shit. But and then I think last year, I can't remember. I think 314 Punk might have recorded a little something while they were there because they had a setup for their podcast. But I always envisioned
Mhm.
somebody coming down there and interviewing vendors and people like that, and just kind of and you guys have like a live channel and shit, so it's cool to have that
Right.
access to something live on the day. You know what I mean? So we're kind of broadcasting a little
Yeah,
bit of what's going on while it's happening. That'll be cool.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We try to keep the live piece going amongst of doing our on-demand stuff. We get that people have busy lives. Sometimes they're not available to
Yeah,
attend the live streams and that sort of thing. So that's why we try to drop the on-demand video pieces on YouTube and audio across all the normal podcast channels, Spotify, Apple Music, all that fun stuff. So we're hoping to get out there and get plenty of content to add to what we got going on as well, and maybe finding some new bands to bring on and feature on our show. We love bringing on up and coming bands, but especially if they're from the St.
yeah,
Louis area, and promoting their music. And we all were musicians in bands in the
nice.
past, and we just kind of like to do the talent scout thing. And if it's stuff that we like, we hope that other people will like, and kind of curate our selections for our show
Yeah,
too.
yeah, and that's kind of the idea behind all the bands on the event as well. It's like it's all people we've played with or I've had here at the shop, except for the headliner, which is going to be a special surprise. But it's kind of the a lot of the people I believe in, the most, and really
Yeah,
like what they do, and in a variety too, So I tried to include hip hop, punk, metal, alternative,
yeah,
pop punk, a little bit of
yeah.
like alternative, harder stuff, whatever, Just tried to fill it in with
Sure.
a full day of different, kinds of stuff, but all kind of
Right.
falls under the same attitude and an umbrella.
Yeah. Well, you guys heard it here today. Don's going to be bringing Coolio back
Yep.
from the dead. He is the headliner, coming back from last year's 4th of July extravaganza, here to bless us with his zombie
Yeah,
remains.
and
So
your
it's going to be a good
grandma.
time.
It's gonna be
Yes, and my grandma
apparently
slam
there's this
dancing.
Return of the Living Dead is what we're
Basically, yeah, for sure.
Hey, this is Josh from ATI Podcast. For show updates and news about the podcast, follow us on social media. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ATI Podcast 22, on Twitter at podcast_ATI, on Instagram at the ATI Podcast, on TikTok at ATI Podcast. DMs are always welcome. Have a question for the show? You can always email us at atipodcastquestions@gmail.com. Stay safe out there.
This is Barrett from the ATI Podcast. Each week, Josh and I discuss current events, pop culture, music, TV, movies, politics, sports. Nothing is out of bounds. You can also tune in to learn about rising artists, small businesses. Whether it's music, graphic design, filmmaking, or even a brick-and-mortar mom-and-pop shop, we will be spotlighting folks and their endeavors. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Anchor, or anywhere you enjoy your podcasts. Just search ATI Podcast. We would like to thank you for your continued support, and as always, please stay safe out there.